Alexandra Eala delivers immediate reaction to losing in the semifinals of the ASB Classic. Alexandra Eala suffered a heartbreaking loss to Wang Xinyu in the semifinal of the ASB Classic in Auckland. The Filipina star led 5-3 in the deciding set, but Wang Xinyu produced a comeback to reach the ASB Classic final. Eala was impressive in Auckland and picked up victories against Xin Wang, Magda Linette, Petra Marcinko, and Donna Vekic. The star, who will rise to world number 49 in the WTA Tour rankings, has now reacted to the difficult semi-final defeat. Alexandra Eala shares reaction to ASB Classic defeat. Eala produced a stunning comeback from 5-1 down in the first set to take the advantage in the semi-final, but she was on the receiving end of a comeback to lose the match. Nevertheless, Eala's impressive run was an incredible way to start the year for the hotly tipped 20-year-old. Taking to Instagram after the loss, the Filipina star wrote, "Till my heart stops. So close yet so far. Thank you Auckland for the warmest hospitality to start the year. Truly felt the Wairua." Eala had been dubbed a fan favorite during her time in Auckland, and her battling performance against Wang Xinyu will continue to earn her respect from tennis fans. The 20-year-old star will now continue her preparation for her very first Australian Open main draw match after automatically qualifying thanks to her ranking. Where will Alexandra Eala play next? It's a testament to Eala's rise that her next tournament will see her enter as the top-ranked player at the event. Eala will play the Kooyong Classic, a 3-day exhibition event just prior to the Australian Open for her next appearance. The star will play alongside several high-profile names, including 4-time Grand Slam winner Daniela Hantuchova. Eala will also play against Vekic and Priscilla Hahn at the Melbourne tournament, which has previously been won by Belinda Bencic and Yenina Wickmeyer. Between the lines, Alexandra Eala's immediate reaction after the ASB Classic semifinal. The stadium in Auckland was already beginning to exhale. Seats creaked, footsteps echoed, and the low murmur of spectators folded into the evening air like a tide pulling back from shore. On the scoreboard, the final numbers glowed with a blunt honesty that no athlete ever gets used to. Alexandra Eala stood near the baseline, racket resting against her thigh, sweat cooling on her skin, her chest still rising too fast for a match that was already over. This was the moment that never makes the highlight reels. Loss does not announce itself loudly. It arrives quietly, in the seconds after the last point, when the body still believes there might be another rally to run, another ball to chase. Eala blinked once, then twice, as if the court might rearrange itself into a different ending. It didn't. The ASB Classic semifinal had slipped from her grasp, not in a collapse, not in embarrassment, but in inches. 2 missed opportunities, 1 brave return that clipped the net instead of clearing it, 1 serve that landed just wide. She walked to the net with the discipline she had been taught since childhood. Shake hands. Look your opponent in the eye. Respect the fight. Her grip was firm, her nod sincere. If there was disappointment, it stayed behind her eyes, contained but unmistakable, like a storm seen through glass. In her chair, she finally allowed herself to sit still. For a moment, Alexandra Eala did not think about rankings or points or what this loss meant on paper. Her mind went somewhere simpler, more human. She thought about the morning warm-up, about how her forehand had felt alive, how her legs had responded when asked to stretch just a little further. She thought about the crowd, how, for a few games, it had leaned toward her, as if willing her forward with collective breath. And she thought, unavoidably, about the match point. It replayed not as regret but as information. Tennis had taught her that much already. The margin between victory and defeat is thin enough to fit inside a heartbeat, and learning to live there is the price of ambition. When she stood to speak, microphones waiting like curious birds, her face was calm. Not blank, never that, but composed in the way of someone who understands that emotion does not need to shout to be real. "It hurts," she said simply, because pretending otherwise would have been a lie. Any loss hurts, especially when you're this close to a final. Her voice didn't tremble. It didn't need to. The weight of her words carried their own gravity. She spoke about the match with clarity, not excuses. About moments she could have handled better. About opportunities she created, and some she didn't. There was no attempt to soften the truth, but neither was there self-punishment. This was the language of an athlete learning in real time, absorbing the lesson while the chalk lines were still warm beneath her shoes. "I gave myself chances," she said. "That's important. Now I have to learn how to take them." Behind the statement was something deeper than disappointment: belief. Not the loud, chest-thumping kind, but the quieter certainty that comes from seeing proof of one's own progress. A semi-final at the ASB Classic was not a consolation prize. It was a marker on a longer road. Still, when the questions ended and the cameras turned away, the reality of the loss returned in waves. In the locker room, she loosened her grip on the racket at last, fingers stiff from effort. The mirror reflected a face flushed with exertion, eyes bright with unshed feeling. She allowed herself a breath, long and unguarded. This, too, was part of becoming. Alexandra Eala had grown up in a sport that demands early maturity. Travel young. Compete older. Lose publicly. Learn quickly. Yet moments like this, when the noise fades and only the self remains, are where growth takes its deepest root. She texted her family. A simple message. "I tried. I'll do better next time." The reply came quickly, full of pride, not pity. She smiled, small but genuine. Outside, Auckland's evening continued without ceremony. The tournament would move on. A final would be played. A champion would be crowned. But for Eala, the story of this week did not end in defeat. It ended in clarity. She had belonged on that court. She had matched the pace, the power, the pressure. She had felt the weight of expectation and had not buckled beneath it. Losing the semi-final did not erase that truth, it underlined it. As she packed her bag, she placed the racket carefully inside, as if acknowledging it as a partner rather than a tool. There would be other tournaments, other semi-finals, other moments when the line between joy and heartbreak would narrow again to a single point. Next time, she thought, not as a wish, but as a plan. And with that, Alexandra Eala walked out of the ASB Classic not with a trophy in her hands, but with something equally valuable, the sharpened understanding that she was closer than ever and that the story she was writing was far from finished.